You know exactly what success looks like in your mind. You've visualized it countless times. The lifestyle, the achievements, the respect, the freedom. Yet something invisible continues to block your path to making it your reality. Days turn into weeks, weeks into months, and that vision of success remains frustratingly out of reach. While others seem to attract opportunity effortlessly, you find yourself stuck in a cycle of effort without reward. What you don't realize is that it's not your work ethic, your intelligence, or even your circumstances holding you back. It's something far more fundamental, a mental state that Napoleon Hill discovered after studying the world's most successful individuals for over 25 years. In the next few minutes, I'm going to reveal how you can activate this exact mental state that has been the hidden force behind every great fortune ever created. This isn't just another motivational talk. It's the revelation of a success mechanism that's been operating inside you all along, waiting to be switched on. Because if you don't master this now, you'll continue watching others achieve the success that should have been yours, while your true potential remains forever dormant. Your mind is the most powerful force in your universe, yet you've never been taught how to use it properly. Every day, you wake up with the same thoughts, the same doubts, and the same limiting beliefs that have kept you exactly where you are. These mental patterns are so familiar that they've become invisible to you, like water to a fish. Napoleon Hill discovered something remarkable during his extensive research commissioned by Andrew Carnegie. Success isn't random. It isn't reserved for the lucky few or the extraordinarily talented. Success follows predictable patterns, and the starting point is always the same. A specific mental state that most people never activate in their entire lives. Look around you. Your current reality, your bank account, your relationships, your health, your position in life, all of it is the perfect physical manifestation of your dominant thoughts. Not the thoughts you wish you had, or the affirmations you repeat occasionally, but the deep, persistent thought patterns that run like background software in your mind 24 hours a day. What would happen if you could identify and permanently upgrade this mental operating system? What if the very force that has been working against you could be harnessed to work tirelessly for you, even while you sleep? This is exactly what Napoleon Hill meant when he said, "Whatever the mind can conceive and believe, it can achieve." Not as a pretty quote for your wall, but as a literal operating principle of success. The question you need to ask yourself right now is this: will you continue to let your unconscious thought patterns determine your future? Or are you ready to take conscious control of the mental state that automatically attracts success? Deep within you lies a success instinct so powerful that once activated, it becomes virtually impossible to fail. This isn't wishful thinking. It's the central discovery of Napoleon Hill's life work. After interviewing over 500 of the world's most accomplished individuals, from Thomas Edison to Henry Ford to Alexander Graham Bell, Hill identified that they all shared one thing. They had consciously or unconsciously activated this success instinct. Most people live their entire lives without ever switching on this powerful force. They struggle and strain, pushing against resistance, wondering why success seems so difficult. Meanwhile, those who have activated their success instinct find that opportunities, resources, and the right people are magnetically drawn to them. What appears as luck to others is actually this success mechanism operating at full power. Think about the times in your life when everything flowed effortlessly, when the right doors opened at precisely the right moment, when ideas came to you fully formed, when you were in the zone. These weren't random flukes. They were brief glimpses of your success instinct at work. Now, imagine living in that state permanently. The difference between the life you have and the life you want is not external. it's internal. The activation of this success instinct changes everything, because it aligns your unconscious mind, which controls 95% of your actions, with your conscious desires. When these two powerful forces work together instead of against each other, success becomes your default setting rather than your struggle. Napoleon Hill called this state definiteness of purpose, and he discovered it was the starting point of all achievement. Without it, you're like a ship without a compass, movement without direction. With it, every cell in your body and every resource in your universe begins organizing around your success. Ask yourself, what if the struggle you've been experiencing isn't because success is difficult, but because you've been trying to achieve it without first activating the very mechanism designed to attract it effortlessly? The dividing line between those who achieve extraordinary success and those who merely dream about it is not talent, education, or connections. It's a specific mental formula that Napoleon Hill extracted from the world's wealthiest individuals, a formula you can apply starting today. This millionaire mindset formula consists of 5 elements that, when combined, create an unstoppable force. First, definiteness of purpose. Every single success story begins with absolute clarity about what you want. Not vague wishes, but crystal clear objectives that become burning obsessions. When Hill interviewed Andrew Carnegie, who had amassed a fortune equivalent to $310 billion in today's dollars, Carnegie attributed his success to concentrating all his energies on a single, definite purpose. Most people scatter their forces, trying to be good at everything, and end up mastering nothing. Second, unwavering faith. The millionaire's mind is characterized by absolute belief, not just in their idea, but in their inevitable success. This isn't blind optimism, but a cultivated mental state where doubt has been systematically eliminated. Henry Ford embodied this when he instructed his engineers to create the V8 engine, something they initially claimed was impossible. His unwavering faith eventually made the impossible a reality. Third, going the extra mile. Every millionaire Hill studied had developed the habit of doing more than what was expected of them. While the average person does the minimum required, the success-oriented mind constantly asks, how can I deliver more value than anyone expects? This single habit separates world-class performers from mediocre ones. Fourth, organized knowledge. The millionaire mind doesn't attempt to store all information, but knows exactly where to find what it needs and how to apply it effectively. Edison wasn't the smartest man of his time, but he organized knowledge better than anyone else, creating a system for innovation that produced 1,093 patents. Fifth, controlled attention. The ability to focus your mind with laser precision on one thing until completion is worth more than any university degree. In today's distracted world, this element of the millionaire mindset is increasingly rare and increasingly valuable. These 5 elements don't work in isolation. They form a success combination lock. Having 4 without the 5th keeps the vault of abundance firmly locked. But when all 5 align, something magical happens. The success instinct awakens and begins working for you. 24 hours a day. What would change in your life if you applied this millionaire mindset formula starting right now, not someday in the future when conditions are perfect? There's a profound difference between wishing for something and being ready to receive it. Most people wish for better lives, hope for improved circumstances, and dream of greater success. But Napoleon Hill discovered that ordinary desire isn't enough. The starting point of all achievement is burning desire, a state so intense that failure is no longer an option. When Edwin C. Barnes decided he wanted to become Thomas Edison's business partner, he didn't just wish for it, he became obsessed with it. Despite having no money for a train ticket, no formal education, and no introduction to Edison, Barnes was driven by a burning desire that wouldn't be denied. He found a way to get to Edison's laboratory, even if it meant riding in a freight car, and announced his intention to become Edison's partner. Though he started as an ordinary worker, his burning desire eventually made him Edison's partner and a wealthy man. The question isn't whether you want success. Everyone wants success. The real question is, how badly do you want it? Is your desire a mild preference that crumbles at the first sign of resistance, or is it a consuming obsession that will overcome any obstacle? Napoleon Hill identified a specific approach to transforming ordinary wishes into burning desire. It begins with absolute precision about what you want, not vague notions, but exact figures, dates, and conditions. Then you must determine exactly what you intend to give in return, because the universe operates on fair exchange. Next, you establish a definite date for the achievement of your desire. Finally, you create a clear plan and begin taking action immediately, regardless of whether you feel ready. Most people never take these steps. They drift through life with generalized wishes, operating on the hope that somehow, someday, things will get better. But hope is not a strategy for success. Your desire must be anchored so deeply that it becomes physical, something you can feel in your body, not just conceptualize in your mind. When Hill interviewed the great steel magnate Andrew Carnegie, he noticed that Carnegie didn't just think about his desires, he embodied them. His goals weren't abstract concepts, but living, breathing parts of his identity. Right now, ask yourself, is my desire for success a polite request or a burning command to my subconscious mind? Am I willing to burn all bridges, eliminate all backup plans, and commit with everything I have? Because until your desire reaches this intensity, the success instinct remains dormant. Your conscious mind proposes, but your subconscious mind disposes. This is perhaps the most important principle Napoleon Hill discovered, that the thoughts which reach your subconscious mind shape your reality far more than your conscious intentions. The bridge between these two aspects of your mind is autosuggestion, the process of communicating with your subconscious through repeated thoughts charged with emotion. The average person's self-talk is dominated by limitation, doubt, and worry. Each negative thought is a command sent directly to the subconscious mind, which then works tirelessly to bring that thought into physical reality. The tragedy is that most people have no idea they're programming themselves for failure every day through undisciplined mental habits. Hill found that the ultra-successful had mastered the art of autosuggestion. They had learned to feed their subconscious minds with specific instructions for what they wanted to achieve, repeating these instructions with unwavering faith until they penetrated the subconscious. Once embedded there, these instructions became powerful forces that worked day and night to transform themselves into physical reality. Thomas Edison used autosuggestion to overcome more than 10,000 failures in developing the electric light bulb. Rather than allowing each failed attempt to program his mind for defeat, he deliberately reframed each outcome as valuable feedback, telling himself, "I have not failed. I've just found 10,000 ways that won't work." This deliberate mental programming kept his subconscious aligned with his goal until success was achieved. The method of autosuggestion is deceptively simple, yet enormously powerful. Napoleon Hill prescribed writing out your chief aim in a clear statement, reading it aloud with emotion twice daily, once before sleeping and once upon waking, when the subconscious mind is most receptive. The statement must be personal, specific, and phrased in the present tense, as if your desire has already been achieved. Most people try this process briefly, but abandon it before it can take root in the subconscious. They treat it as a mere exercise rather than the literal programming of their mental success mechanism. They read their statement without emotion, failing to understand that emotion is the fuel that powers autosuggestion. Your subconscious mind cannot distinguish between an actual experience and one that is vividly imagined with strong emotion. When you visualize your success with the feeling of achievement already present, your subconscious accepts this as reality and begins reorganizing your actions, perceptions, and opportunities to match this new truth. What commands have you been sending to your subconscious? What instructions have you programmed into your mental success mechanism through your habitual thoughts and feelings? Will you continue with the default programming you've received from your environment, or will you take control of this process starting today? In today's information age, knowledge is abundant, but true understanding is rare. Napoleon Hill made a crucial distinction that most people miss. There's a world of difference between general knowledge and specialized knowledge. General knowledge, no matter how extensive, has little value until it's organized and applied toward a definite purpose. The wealthiest individuals Hill studied weren't necessarily the most educated. In fact, many like Henry Ford had little formal education. What they possessed instead was highly specialized knowledge in their specific field, combined with the ability to access other people's specialized knowledge when needed. Ford famously demonstrated this during a lawsuit when he was accused of being uneducated. When asked a series of general knowledge questions he couldn't answer, Ford finally replied, "I don't know the answers to these questions, but I could find a man in 5 minutes who does." He understood that power comes not from knowing everything, but from knowing exactly where to find the right information and how to apply it. The most valuable form of specialized knowledge is that which cannot be found in books or classrooms. It's the knowledge that can only be acquired through direct experience, experimentation, and failure. Edison's specialized knowledge about electrical principles wasn't theoretical. It came from thousands of experiments. The Wright brothers' understanding of flight dynamics wasn't academic. It came from countless failed attempts and adjustments. Hill discovered that all specialized knowledge falls into two categories: that which you personally acquire and that which you access through your network, what he called the Mastermind Alliance. The most successful people prioritize developing specialized knowledge in their core area while building relationships with others who have complementary specialized knowledge. In a world drowning in information, your ability to acquire and apply specialized knowledge becomes your competitive advantage. But this requires a fundamental shift in approach. Instead of passive consumption of endless content, success demands deliberate acquisition of specific knowledge tied directly to your definite purpose. The world rewards results, not knowledge for its own sake. Your specialized knowledge must be consistently translated into performance and service to others. Knowledge that isn't applied has no value in the marketplace. When Hill interviewed successful leaders across industries, he found they all shared a commitment to continuous, lifelong learning in their specific field, combined with immediate application of what they learned. Ask yourself, what specialized knowledge do you need to acquire to achieve your definite purpose? What information have you already consumed that remains unapplied? Are you developing knowledge with laser-like precision, or are you collecting random information, hoping it will somehow prove useful someday? Your imagination is the most powerful creative force you possess. Yet, you've likely been conditioned to subordinate it to practical thinking. Napoleon Hill identified two distinct forms of imagination: synthetic imagination, which rearranges existing ideas into new combinations, and creative imagination, which connects with infinite intelligence to receive entirely new ideas that have never existed before. Every invention, business, and fortune begins in this invisible workshop of the mind before it manifests in physical reality. The ability to see something clearly in your mind before it exists externally is the defining characteristic of visionary leaders and innovators. When Alexander Graham Bell first conceived of the telephone, he faced ridicule and disbelief. People insisted that if God had meant for humans to talk across distances, he would have made it possible. But Bell's imagination had already created the telephone in the mental realm long before it manifested physically. His unwavering mental image guided his actions until the physical creation matched his imagination. Most people use their imagination inadvertently, allowing it to dwell on their fears, limitations, and past failures. They visualize what they don't want rather than what they do want. This negative use of imagination is the hidden cause behind most failure and disappointment. Your imagination is always working, either for you or against you, depending on how you direct it. The good news is that imagination, like any mental faculty, can be developed through consistent use. Hill prescribed specific exercises for strengthening creative imagination, including regular periods of quiet contemplation, where you pose specific challenges to your mind and then listen for the answers. The practice of capturing and developing ideas immediately when they arrive trains your creative faculty to produce more frequently and with greater power. The most practical function of imagination in the creation of success is its ability to synthesize solutions from seemingly unrelated elements. When Henry Ford wanted to revolutionize manufacturing, his synthetic imagination combined the continuous flow process used in flour mills, the assembly concepts from meat packing plants, and the precision engineering of clockmaking. The result was the moving assembly line that transformed not just the automobile industry but all of manufacturing. Every successful person Hill studied used their imagination deliberately, rather than passively. They scheduled time specifically for creative thinking, created environments that stimulated their imagination, and captured their ideas through writing or recording before they could evaporate. Your mind's ability to imagine is the one power that transcends all limitations. While your current circumstances may be restricted by finances, education, or background, your imagination has no such constraints. In your mind, you can be, do, and have anything. This is why Napoleon Hill insisted that imagination is the starting point of all fortune. Will you continue to let your imagination run on autopilot, focusing on limitations and problems, or will you harness this incredible force as the workshop where you design your ideal future? Ideas without execution are worthless. The cemetery of failed dreams is filled with brilliant concepts that never translated into organized action. Napoleon Hill discovered that successful people are distinguished not by having better ideas, but by transforming those ideas into concrete plans and then executing those plans with persistence until they succeed. The creation of practical plans is where most dreams die. Developing the habit of organized planning requires overcoming the natural tendency to procrastinate on the detailed work of mapping out steps, anticipating obstacles, and creating contingencies. Hill found that the most successful individuals were masters of what he called organized planning, the ability to create detailed roadmaps from vision to reality. Henry Ford didn't merely imagine mass-produced automobiles, he methodically planned every aspect of production, from the assembly line to the standardization of parts to the efficiency of motion. His competitive advantage wasn't the idea of affordable cars. Others had that, but his superior planning and execution. Hill outlined a specific approach to organized planning that begins with assembling a mastermind group, a carefully selected team of individuals who bring complementary knowledge and abilities. No major fortune has ever been created by a single person working in isolation. The power of organized planning multiplies exponentially when diverse minds focus on a common objective. This approach requires brutal intellectual honesty. Your plans must be continually examined for weaknesses, tested against reality, and refined based on feedback. The successful people Hill studied were never married to their original plans. They were committed to their goals but flexible about the methods. When a plan failed, they created another and another until they found one that worked. Most people abandon their dreams at the first sign that their plans aren't working. They take plan failure as personal failure, not recognizing that temporary defeat is simply feedback that a better plan is needed. Edison's development of the storage battery required over 10,000 experiments. Each failed experiment was really just an eliminated approach that brought him closer to the plan that would ultimately succeed. Organized planning must include specific deadlines and accountability measures. Plans without timelines are merely wishes. The concrete stating of when specific milestones will be achieved creates the necessary tension that drives action. Without this tension, plans remain theoretical exercises rather than catalysts for achievement. The quality of your planning determines the quality of your results. However, Hill discovered an important paradox. While detailed planning is essential, equally important is the willingness to take immediate action before you feel fully ready. The perfect plan never exists in advance. Many elements of successful planning can only be discovered through action and adjustment. Ask yourself, do you have a written plan for achieving your main objective, with specific action steps and deadlines? Have you identified the specialized knowledge and relationships you'll need to execute this plan? Are you prepared to create new plans as needed until you succeed? The bridge between desire and achievement is organized planning, consistently executed. The most revealing trait separating leaders from followers is the capacity for swift, firm decision-making. After studying thousands of individuals, Napoleon Hill concluded that indecision and procrastination are among the primary causes of failure. Those who achieve rarely have all the facts before deciding. They develop the courage to make decisions with whatever information is available and adjust course as needed. The habit of decisiveness is not innate but developed through practice. Every successful individual Hill interviewed described reaching a turning point where they stopped deliberating and made an irrevocable decision that changed everything. For many, it was the decision to burn all bridges behind them, eliminating any possibility of retreat. When Henry Ford decided to produce his V8 engine, his engineers insisted it was impossible to cast an 8-cylinder engine block in one piece. Rather than accepting this limitation, Ford made a decisive statement: produce it anyway. This uncompromising decision forced innovation that otherwise wouldn't have occurred. Had he remained open to the possibility of failure, the breakthrough might never have happened. Most people live in a perpetual state of indecision, constantly changing their minds about what they want and how to achieve it. This vacillation sends conflicting instructions to the subconscious mind, creating internal resistance rather than aligned action. The mental state that attracts success requires clear, decisive commands that don't fluctuate with circumstances or opinions. The cost of indecision goes far beyond the obvious delays. Each moment of uncertainty drains your mental and emotional energy, creates anxiety, and erodes your confidence. More importantly, indecision prevents the success mechanism within you from activating fully. Your subconscious mind cannot begin working on manifesting an outcome until it receives unambiguous instructions through your decisions. Hill discovered that the most successful people made decisions quickly and changed them slowly, if at all. Conversely, failures tended to make decisions slowly and change them frequently. This pattern reveals a fundamental truth. The speed of your decisions often determines the speed of your results. Decision-making is a skill that improves with use. Each decisive action strengthens your ability to make future decisions with greater confidence and clarity. Like a muscle, your decision-making faculty either strengthens through exercise or atrophies through neglect. The decisions that most powerfully activate your success mechanism are those made with absolute finality, what Hill called decisions of the first magnitude. These aren't everyday choices, but fundamental commitments that define your direction. For Thomas Edison, it was the decision to create an affordable electric light. For Andrew Carnegie, it was the decision to organize the United States Steel Corporation. These decisions were made with such conviction that they carried an irresistible power that mobilized all necessary resources. What decisions have you been postponing? What clarity are you waiting for that can only come through decisive action? The success you seek begins with a decision that only you can make. A decision to activate the mental state that automatically attracts achievement. If there's a single quality that most reliably predicts ultimate success, Napoleon Hill found it to be persistence, the ability to maintain action regardless of feelings, temporary results, or criticism. After analyzing countless success stories, Hill concluded that persistence is a direct manifestation of the mental state that attracts achievement. Without it, even the most brilliant talents and opportunities eventually come to nothing. Persistence is not stubbornness or blind adherence to a failing approach. Rather, it's the sustained application of faith in your purpose and plans while remaining flexible about methods and timelines. The most persistent individuals Hill studied were simultaneously committed to their vision yet adaptable in their strategies. When Robert Fulton worked to develop the first commercially successful steamboat, he faced years of setbacks, ridicule, and financial hardship. What separated him from countless others with similar ideas was not the originality of his concept but his extraordinary persistence in the face of temporary defeat. While others abandoned similar pursuits at the first major obstacle, Fulton's persistence eventually transformed water transportation and made him wealthy. Hill identified 4 specific steps to developing persistence. 1. A definite purpose backed by burning desire. 2. A clear, practical plan. 3. A mind closed to negative influences. And 4. A supportive alliance with like-minded individuals. These elements create a foundation for persistence that transcends willpower alone. Most people mistake temporary defeat for permanent failure. They encounter resistance and interpret it as a signal to abandon their course rather than as the natural testing ground where persistence proves its value. Hill found that nearly every successful person experienced their most valuable growth immediately after their most devastating defeats, but only because they persisted. The relationship between persistence and the mental state that attracts success is reciprocal. Persistence strengthens this mental state, and this mental state, in turn, fuels greater persistence. Each reinforces the other in an upward spiral of achievement. Conversely, when persistence falters, the success mechanism begins to weaken, creating a downward spiral that leads to abandonment of goals. Persistence is the visible evidence of invisible faith. It demonstrates your belief in the eventual manifestation of your desire more convincingly than any words could. The universe seems to test this faith through challenges that can only be overcome through persistent action. Those who persist past these testing points often find that success was much closer than it appeared during their moments of greatest difficulty. Hill discovered that persistence often follows a predictable pattern. Initial enthusiasm makes action easy, but as this fades, only those with developed persistence continue. After a period of consistent effort with limited, visible results, many abandon their pursuit just before what Hill called the breakthrough point, the moment when accumulated efforts finally create visible success. The quality of your persistence reveals the quality of your desire. Surface wishes produce sporadic efforts. Burning desire produces unstoppable persistence. The mental state that naturally attracts success generates persistence as its physical expression, turning even ordinary talents into extraordinary achievements through the simple application of unwavering effort. Ask yourself, what evidence does your persistence provide about your desire and belief? Are you maintaining consistent action toward your goals regardless of immediate results? The success you seek may be just beyond the point where others typically give up. The journey from where you are to where you want to be begins with recognizing a fundamental truth that Napoleon Hill discovered after 25 years of research. Success is not something you pursue, but something you attract by the person you become. The mental state that automatically magnetizes achievement is not a temporary motivation technique, but a permanent way of thinking and being. Throughout this exploration of Hill's principles, you've learned that this success-attracting mental state is built on specific elements: a burning desire fixed on a definite purpose, unwavering faith fueled by autosuggestion, specialized knowledge organized into actionable plans, imagination directed toward your vision, decisiveness that overcomes procrastination, and persistence that transforms obstacles into stepping stones. These principles are not theoretical concepts, but practical tools for reprogramming your mental success mechanism. Each one builds upon the others, creating a complete system for achievement that works with mathematical precision. When properly applied, they activate the success instinct that lies dormant in most people but fully awake in those who achieve extraordinary results. The difference between where you are now and where you could be is not external but internal. It's not about working harder but thinking differently. The mental patterns that have created your current results will continue creating similar results until they are consciously upgraded. This upgrade begins with a decision to implement these principles not as an experiment but as a fundamental shift in how you operate. Napoleon Hill's ultimate discovery was that success is governed by laws as predictable as gravity. When you align with these laws by activating the appropriate mental state, success becomes not just possible, but inevitable. The universe reorganizes itself to match your dominant thoughts and beliefs, bringing people, opportunities, and resources that correspond to your internal programming. The greatest tragedy is not failing to achieve success, but never fully activating the mental mechanism designed to attract it effortlessly. Most people struggle against life's current when they could be flowing with it by simply adjusting their mental frequency to match their desires. The moment of truth has arrived. You can continue as you have been, hoping that external circumstances will somehow transform your results. Or you can make the decision right now to activate the mental state that Napoleon Hill proved will automatically attract the success you seek. This decision will not just change what you do tomorrow. It will transform who you become for the rest of your life. The choice is yours, and it must be made now. Not tomorrow, when conditions seem better. Not next week, when you feel more prepared. Now, in this moment, will you continue accepting the results that your current mental patterns produce? Or will you step into the powerful success mechanism that has been waiting within you all along? The difference between these two paths isn't measured in small improvements, but in entirely different lives. One leads to incremental progress and perpetual struggle. The other leads to exponential growth and the effortless magnetism of success. Which will you choose?